This conference will now be recorded.
Hello. Okay, okay. Now start again. Well,
This conference will now be recorded.
hello. Hello, my dear students. Good morning, everybody. In the last class, we have started miscellaneous viruses, and we have discussed about the two of them, like Helicobacter pylori and Campylobacter jejuni. Today, we are going to discuss about Legionella and other miscellaneous viruses. First, Legionella. Then start out. Ma Ramya. నేను పట్టుకోలేదు. Still waiting. Legionella. What is Legionella? The Legionella is a pleomorphic gram-negative short bacilli. It is a fastidious bacteria, means it grows under most important requirements you have to provide. Then only this bacteria will grow in culture media. Suppose if you see various bacteria which may grow without fastidious requirement, but Legionella won't grow without fastidious requirement. We have to provide the special ingredients and other environmental factors we have to provide, then only this Legionella will grow. It is a motile bacterium because of the presence of flagella. Legionella will move from one place to another place. Coming to the history of Legionella, it was first recognized in 1976 when an outbreak of pneumonia took place at Philadelphia Hotel during an American Legion convention. That is why the name is Legionella. There are about many species in Legionella bacteria, more than 50 species, out of which 19 species have been associated with human infections. The first one, Legionella pneumophila species, associated with most of the human infections. There are 15 serogroups which are very, very important in Legionella pneumophila. The most human infections, first serogroup 1, followed by 4 and 6. That is the importance of Legionella pneumophila. Why? Because it produces pneumonia, which is atypical pneumonia, severe pneumonia, particularly in the cold environment. The Legionella pneumophila produces in closed environment and cool environment. It produces pneumonia, that too atypical type of pneumonia. First, it was identified in the Philadelphia, America, the Legion Convention. Other species may also produce pneumonia, atypical pneumonia. They are Legionella migdadi, that is Pittsburgh pneumonia agent. Then Legionella bosemani, Legionella domuifi, and Legionella long beach. These are also some species which may cause atypical type of pneumonia in case of Legionella genus. What are the reservoirs? Legionella infection inhabits on aquatic bodies. Aquatic, particularly wherever there is a water and contaminated water, the reservoirs, and there is a without moving water. This is the responsible for the infection. That is why the Legionella is inhabits on aquatic bodies, like natural reservoirs, like rivers, streams, or even inside amoeba. It's present in the inside amoeba. The bacteria may be present in the inside the protozoa bacteria, like amoeba. And why? Because the water is contaminated and dirty water. Sometimes this bacteria may survive. And suppose if we inhale, suppose if we ingest that water, that may produce Legionella infection. The most classical examples for the aquatic sources, like artificial sources, air conditioners, ACs, water coolers, where there is a stagnation of water, where the chance of stagnation of water is possible. In those situations, the Legionella infection is usually transmits from person to person. That is the most important source, artificial aquatic source, air conditions and water coolers, where there is a stagnation of water will be there. The next is soil. Soil also contains Legionella pneumonia. No animal reservoir is, no animal carrier are so far identified for the Legionella infection. Transmission, aspiration, that is the predominant mode of Legionella infection. The aspiration is the predominant mode of Legionella infection. That too, oropharyngeal colonization. Oropharyngeal colonization. Present in the oral cavity, is present in the pharynx, inhabits and is multiplies in the oropharyngeal area, and sometimes directly via drinking of contaminated water. It is transmitted to the individual by contaminated drinking water from the air coolers and air conditioners, and sometimes the hospital nebulizers and humidifiers also may give infection to the individuals. That is the most predominant mode of infection of Legionella pneumonia. Direct instillation into the lungs during respiratory tract manipulations also one type of mode of transmission of Legionella infection. No man-to-man transmission is so far identified, discovered. No man-to-man transmission. Only aerosol infection from the air coolers and air conditioners, and aspiration by contaminated water is usually the Legionella infection is common. What are the predisposing factors for the Legionella infection? Already the lung problem is there. Smoking, immunocompromised, immunosuppression, alcoholism, chronic lung disease is there. In those individuals, there is some problem is the clearance, ciliary function is defective. Ciliary function is defective. In those individuals, the Legionella infection, the infection will be more precipitating factor, and the infection will be more. And also advancing age, old age, 60 years, 70 years, the Legionella infection will be more in those individuals. Immunosuppression, transplantation, organ transplantation, sometimes HIV infection, sometimes chronic steroid therapy, etc. will also acts as a predisposing factors for the Legionella infection. That is the pneumonia. They say a typical type of pneumonia. The prior sometimes hospital acquired infection is also possible. Hospital acquired infection. There is a long-term hospitalization. Individuals may also get this Legionella infection. Patients with nasogastric tubes or those undergoing surgery with a general anesthesia promotes the aspiration, and these are also predisposing factors for the Legionella infection. Next, pathogenesis of Legionella. After entering into the lungs, how it proceeds the infection? Attaching to the respiratory mucosa. Attaching to the respiratory mucosa. Because of cilia, sometimes the bacteria will be removed by the ciliary action. Even with the ciliary function is good, sometimes it attaches to the respiratory tract and it gives infection. Recruitment of macrophages and neutrophils. Wherever there is an infection, there is a recruitment of macrophages. Macrophage function will be activated. Neutrophil function will be activated, and the infection will be they removed from the body by alveolar macrophages. That is called a coiling phagocytosis by alveolar macrophages. And then intracellular killing is possible sometimes, and escaping from the humoral immunity. Sometimes the innate immunity is not effective, and sometimes humoral immunity is not effective. Humoral immunity, antibody mediated immunity is not effective. Only cell mediated immunity is responsible for the recovery. Innate immunity is not effective. Antibody mediated immunity is not effective for removing the bacteria. Only sometimes cellular immunity, cell mediated immunity like T cells will participate in removing the Legionella. T cells will participate and removing the bacteria, and will possible if it is possible, it removes that, and also not only that, it is responsible for the recovery from the Legionella infection. There is two types of fevers mainly. The Legionella infection. The first mild infection, that is self-limiting infection, that is called Pontiac fever. Pontiac fever is a mild infection of the Legionella. Pontiac fever is a mild infection of the Legionella. Incubation period is 1 to 2 days. The infection starts with flu-like illness, acute flu-like illness, body pains, fever, and headache will be there. This is the mild symptoms of the Legionella infection. Usually, this infection is self-limiting, never develops into pneumonia. Never develops into pneumonia. This is the Pontiac fever. The mild infection of the Legionella is called Pontiac fever. Sometimes the disease will progress and leads to pneumonia-like disease, that is called Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease, that is the atypical type of pneumonia. The incubation period is 2 to 10 days. Average 1 day, 1 week. Average 1 week. Incubation period is for the Legionnaire's disease, that is pneumonia, 1 week. The pneumonia is not a typical pneumonia, not a lobar pneumonia. This is an interstitial atypical pneumonia. The pneumonia, which is in case of Legionella or Legionnaire's disease, is interstitial atypical pneumonia. Interstitial atypical pneumonia. That is the involvement of the whole part of the lung, involvement of the whole part of the lung, and two sides the lung part of the lung part is infected, and it is passes through the interstitial tissue. The type of pneumonia is called interstitial atypical pneumonia, not involving the only one lobe. It involves the whole lung. That is why this type of pneumonia is called interstitial atypical pneumonia. In interstitial atypical pneumonia, the symptoms are non-productive cough, breathlessness, chest pain, and high fever and diarrhea will be there. In this case of Legionnaire's atypical pneumonia, this is the picture of the clinical picture of the Legionnaire's interstitial atypical pneumonia. This is the leading cause of pneumonia both in the community and also in the hospital settings. This both in the hospital side and also in the community. The Legionnaire's disease will produce the atypical type of pneumonia. The fourth is the fourth common cause of community acquired pneumonia. The fourth common cause of community acquired pneumonia. Not only the lobar pneumonia, which is maybe caused by the streptococci and Klebsiella, etc. But this interstitial pneumonia, it is the Legionnaire's pneumonia is the fourth common cause for the community acquired, not hospital acquired. For the common cause of community acquired pneumonia, it causes 10 to 50% of nosocomial pneumonia. When a hospital water system is colonized with the organism, sometimes this pneumonia is also common in the hospital side, which is about 10 to 15%, because the water system in the hospital side, water system which is colonized, which is not sterilized, which is not bleached, the colon water by the water system is not purified. That is why this pneumonia is also common in this hospital settings. This is about the both it causes both the community acquired and also hospital acquired pneumonia. Community acquired and hospital acquired pneumonia, it is responsible by the Legionella pneumonia. Next, sometimes this Legionellosis causes the other organs, not only lungs. It also spreads to the other body parts, passes through the blood from lung, it enters into the various parts like heart and causes myocarditis, pericarditis, prosthetic valve endocarditis, sometimes sinusitis, peritonitis, pyelonephritis, skin and soft tissue infections. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis, what is the laboratory diagnosis of the Legionella? It is a gram-negative bacilli. Already, it is very difficult to identify the bacilli in the body parts, in the samples, particularly in the sputum and other body parts. Even though the specimens are sputum, bronchoalveolar lavage fluid, bronchial wash, and pleural fluid, it is very difficult to find. But suppose if you observe in the gram stain, the neutrophils we can observe, but no organisms are there. Why? As Legionella are poorly stained bacilli. Legionella are poorly stained with the gram stain and sometimes appear as faint bacilli, faint staining in the gram stain. Even though they are gram-negative bacilli, it is not easy to stain in the gram stain. It is not easy to stain in the gram stain. Only the neutrophils are observed in the staining. Neutrophils are observed in the staining. They are pleomorphic gram-negative bacilli, which may be faint in color. Sometimes these faint bacilli may not be observed. That is the very difficult observation of the direct microscopic feature. Next, silver impregnation method. Gram staining is over. Next, silver impregnation. We have to impregnate and thicken. We have to increase the thickness of the bacterial cell by doing silver impregnation, so that the bacterial cell will thicker and we can observe in the staining. That is the one method for the observation of the thin bacilli. Silver impregnation method for the observation of the making the thin bacteria into thick bacteria. Making the thin bacteria into thick bacteria by doing the silver impregnation. Silver impregnation. Next, after gram staining and silver impregnation, next gene staining. We can also do gene staining. And then immunofluorescence test. By using the immunofluorescent microscopy, we can observe the direct immunofluorescence test. Direct immunofluorescence by staining with the fluorescent dye and treating with the body fluids and observe for the bacilli, Legionella bacilli. That is a direct immunofluorescence test. That is the observation of the antigens of the bacteria, and by using the fluorescent dyes, observation of the antibody treated fluorescent dyes. Antibody treated fluorescent dyes are treated with the body fluids. Suppose the antigens are present in the body fluids, these antibodies, fluorescent tagged antibodies, will attack to the antigens of the body fluids, and we can observe we will get the glow, we can get the fluorescence, we can get the fluorescence. That is called direct fluorescence, direct immunofluorescence. Direct immunofluorescence test, which is more specific, but sensitivity is poor than the culture. For making the more sensitive, we have to do culture. The culture is the gold standard, not direct immunofluorescence or staining, etc. Next, we can do acid fast staining, particularly some bacteria species like Legionella migdadi, not for the Legionella pneumophila. Legionella pneumophila is not acid fast. Legionella pneumophila is not acid fast, but Legionella migdadi is acid fast. That too, weakly acid fast. That is weakly acid, not a strong acid fast. Legionella migdadi species is a weakly acid fast. Next, culture. Coming to the culture of the Legionella bacteria. It is highly sensitive. We have to do culture of the bacteria. Legionella, 80 to 90% of the highly sensitive, and specific is 100%. There is a culture medium that is called buffered charcoal yeast extract. Buffered charcoal yeast extract, that is BCYE agar, incubated at 37 degrees centigrade in 5% carbon dioxide for 3 to 5 days. We have to get the growth not within 24 hours. We have to observe the growth every day, that too about 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, like that. Then only we will get the growth, not immediately within 24 hours. That is the because this bacteria is a fastidious bacteria. Fastidious, not easily grown bacteria, not easily grown bacteria. We have to provide the special medium. That special medium is called buffered charcoal yeast extract. Buffered charcoal yeast extract. Buffered charcoal we have to provide, and also yeast extract also we have to provide. Then only that bacteria will grow. Otherwise, it is not simple to grow the bacteria on routine blood agar culture medium. We have to provide a special nutrients like buffered charcoal and yeast extract, so that the bacteria will grow. And then we have to provide carbon dioxide also 5% carbon dioxide, and wait for 3 to 5 days. Suppose the colony bacteria, Legionella bacteria grows on the BCYE agar medium. The colonies are granular or speckled, opalescence resembling ground glass. Please all of you see the culture colonies of the Legionella bacteria on the culture medium. Culture colony characteristics. So these are the colonies are granular colonies or speckled colonies, opalescent colonies resembling ground glass type of colonies. This is the colony characters of the Legionella. Coming to the other features of the laboratory diagnosis, apart from the culture, biochemical reactions. Biochemical reactions are is a catalase positive and oxidase negative. It is oxidase negative. Suppose if you see Campylobacter and Helicobacter, yesterday's class, the Campylobacter, Helicobacter, they are oxidase positive. This bacteria is not oxidase positive, it is oxidase negative, but catalase positive. And another important point is hippurate hydrolysis test is positive. Hippurate hydrolysis test is positive in case of Legionella pneumophila. Hippurate, that is the most important test for Legionella pneumophila. Legionella pneumophila, hippurate hydrolysis test we have to do. And then other tests we can do, that is antibody detection. It is not useful for the routine diagnosis, for epidemiological purpose only we can use. And suppose if at all if you want to do this antibody test, we can do indirect immunofluorescence antibody test and ELISA we have to do. ELISA test we have to do. That too, the antibody titer we have to observe. The more amount of antibodies titer, we have to observe that the amount is more than 1:128 titer. That is significant titer. Otherwise, fourfold rise in titer. Suppose if you see some amount of antibodies are there in the first day, after 4 days or 1 week, the titer will be doubled, second twofold, then threefold, like that. It will rise. The rising titer, which up to fourfold. Rising titer up to fourfold is significant for the diagnosis of the Legionella infection. Fourfold rise in titer. Fourfold rise in titer is the most important, not a single test. Single test is not useful. We have to repeat the test. We have to repeat the test and observe the rise in titer. We have to observe for the rise in titer. Otherwise, suppose if you see the titer is in the single titer, more than 128 is there. So we can diagnose is sufficient. Sometimes 128 is not there. We have to do repeat the test and we have to observe for the rising titer. Observe for the rising titer. That too, fourfold rising titer is most important of the diagnosis of the Legionella pneumophila antibody test. Antibody usually late after 12 weeks. Late after 12 weeks. Cross reactivity with other Legionella species is common. Next, sometimes other laboratory diagnosis, urine antigen, urine test also sometimes is not only antibody. In the urine, antigens also we can detect. Antigens. The antigens are serogroup 1 antigen. Serogroup 1 specific soluble antigens we have to use. Legionella serogroup 1, which is the most important serotype, serogroup for Legionella pneumophila. That is serogroup 1 specific soluble antigen we have to use. That is the urine antigen, not in the blood. The urine antigen, the antigen is present in the urine that is that to serogroup 1. That is specific for the Legionella pneumophila, not other serogroups. Serogroup 1 is the most important. Suppose there 4 and 6 etc. are there serogroups, but serogroup 1 of Legionella pneumophila antigen is specific. Suppose it is present in the urine sample. Advantages of the samples is a rapid urine antigen rapid test, cheaper, easy to perform. It is useful next to culture. Already the culture is the blood culture is the gold standard. The sample blood sputum sample is the culture is the gold standard, and it is highly sensitive and specific. But urine antigen is it is next to culture only, not the first one. First we have to do culture, then only we have to do urine antigens, urine antigen, and then it is detectable 3 days after the onset of symptoms. It disappear over 2 months. We can do, suppose the culture is sometimes it is late, takes time. That is why we can do the urine antigen, Legionella urinary antigen, we can identify by using the serogroup 1 specific soluble antigen by ELISA test. It is not affected by prior antibiotic administration. That too, another advantage for the urinary antigen, even though the patient is on antibiotics, we can do the urine directly go to the urinary antigen. Why? Because the antibiotic therapy is not affected by the presence of the urinary antigen. It won't remove the urinary antigen. Suppose if you give the antibiotics also, no problem. We can detect the urinary antigen, the patient suffering with the Legionella infection. The molecular methods are also available. That is the polymerase chain reaction, PCR. It is useful in the identification of Legionella from environmental water. Environmental water. And the treatment for this Legionella is macrolides, especially azithromycin. And we can use respiratory quinolones, the drug of choice. Mainly azithromycin is the drug of choice for the Legionella. Prevention. How to prevent? That is the routine environmental culture of hospital water samples. That is the most important prevention. To destroy microcolonies within the biofilms from drinking water systems requires disinfectants that can penetrate the biofilm. That is why the routine environmental culture of the hospital water samples. We have to do the routine environmental culture of the water samples of the hospital site, and that is the most important method of prevention of the already present Legionella is present in the water samples, water circulation, water the tanks present in the hospital site. We have to disinfect the samples, and by disinfection of the drinking water by the superheat and flush method. And second method is commercial copper and silver ionization systems. Silver ionization systems. This is about the Legionella removal. Next, Donovanosis. Other bacteria like the Donovanosis. That is also miscellaneous bacteria. What is the Donovani? It is the Donovanosis, the sexually transmitted diseases. The Donovana granulomatis. It is also called as Donovania granulomatis. It is also called granuloma inguinale. Granuloma inguinal. It is a sexually transmitted disease. Granuloma inguinal. That is also called GI. GI means granuloma inguinale. Granuloma inguinal means in the inguinal area there is a lymph nodes. Lymph node enlargement is there in both sides. Inguinal area, the involvement of lymph nodes, enlargement of the lymph nodes, etc. will be there along with the ulcer on the genital part. Ulcer on the genital part. That is the caused by the Donovania granulomatis. It is otherwise known as Klebsiella granulomatis and also called as a Calamotobacterium granulomatis. There are three names for this Donovanosis. It is a sexually transmitted disease. Okay, the disease is called granuloma inguinale. The bacteria are Klebsiella. It is a Klebsiella granulomatis. The old name for this Klebsiella granulomatis is Calamotobacterium granulomatis. Calamotobacterium granulomatis. The first in 1882, the MacLeod first described disease in Kolkata. In 1905, Charles Donovan, after Donovan, the disease is called Donovanosis. Donovan in Chennai, Madras, demonstrated Donovan bodies in the genital region. Donovan bodies in genital regions. Donovanosis is prevalent in India, Brazil, Papua New Guinea, and parts of South Africa. That is the Donovanosis. The risk factors for the Donovanosis is poor hygiene, lower socio-economic status, and multiple sex partners. Multiple sex, it is sexually transmitted diseases. There are so many diseases are there. Sexually transmitted diseases are there. Syphilis. Syphilis is sexually transmitted disease. And gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a sexually transmitted disease. And other diseases like the various bacterial diseases. Then the third one, granuloma inguinale, that is caused by the Klebsiella granulomatis. It is also called as Calamotobacterium granulomatis. Calamotobacterium granulomatis. Why? Because there is involvement of the inguinal lymph nodes and also the ulcer on the penis and other parts. See, all of you see how it is the Donovano granulomatis. See, there is an ulcer on the penis. Ulcer on the penis. Suppose if you touch the ulcer, there is a bleeding also. There is an ulcer, bleeding ulcer is there, redness is there. Suppose the incubation for this Donovania granulomatis or Calamotobacterium granulomatous, it otherwise known as Klebsiella granulomatous. The incubation period is 1 month, 1 to 4 weeks, and the lesion starts as painless papule. Lesion starts as a painless papule. The ulcer is a red ulcer, that is a PP red ulcer that bleeds readily when touched. That bleeds readily when touched. Suppose if you touch that ulcer, the bleeding will occur because even with the pressure, simple pressure, the ulcer will bleeds. That is the nature of the Donovania granulomatous. The disease is called Donovania venosus. The sites are genital parts, 90%, particularly prepuce of penis, and frenum and glands in the men, and labia minora in women. These are the sites of the ulcers seen on the genital parts: prepuce and frenum and glands in men, labia minora in women. Labia minora in women. These are the sites of the Donovania granulomatous, and these ulcers are red ulcers, the strong red ulcer that bleeds readily when touched. Suppose if you touch a simple pressure, if you apply, that it bleeds. That is the nature of the Donovania granulomatous. There are the important feature is buboes are produced. That is like granuloma inguinale. Why it is inguinale? In the inguinal region, there is a buboes are produced because the lymph nodes are enlarged, lymph nodes are matted and forms buboes. Buboes means there is the mass of lymph nodes. Enlarged lymph nodes are present in the both sides of the inguinal region. Both sides of the inguinal region. These enlarged inguinal lymph nodes are called pseudobuboes. Pseudobuboes. And not only buboes means these lymph nodes will enlarge and suppurate and forms subcutaneous abscess. Subcutaneous abscess are produced. Specimen collection. Step. You have to collect the pus from the bubo and sometimes granulation tissue, and direct microscopy. The direct microscopy, we have to see rapid Giemsa right stain, Donovania body cell. What are the Donovania body cells? All of the Donovania bodies, large cyst-like macrophages, which are filled with a deeply stained capsulated bacilli having a safety pin appearance. Safety pin, bipolar appearance. It is a non-motile, capsulated, and gram-negative bacilli. These are the Donovania bodies are observed in the Giemsa right stain. Donovania bodies are observed in the Giemsa or gram stain. The Donovania bodies are nothing but large cyst-like macrophages. Large cyst-like macrophages which are filled with a deeply stained capsulated bacilli. Deeply stained capsulated bacilli are present in the macrophages, and these macrophages contains a safety pin appearance because the bacilli appears like a safety pin appearance seen. That is called Donovania bodies. Donovan bodies. Coming to the culture of the Donovania granulomatous or Calinatobacterium granulomatous. The culture is routine culture medium like bread agar, nutrient agar, chocolate agar, not sufficient. Bacteria won't grow in the medium like routine enriched medium. We have to use the egg yolk medium, and on the cell cultures like HEP2, human epithelioma cells lines, human epithelioma 2 cell lines we have to use. Molecular methods also we can use. That is the polymerase chain reaction. The polymerase chain reaction is also useful for the observation of the bacteria. That too, Klebsiella granulomatous. Some gene is there. The gene is that is the FOE gene. FOE gene is we have to use. FOE gene is used for the laboratory diagnosis. And then a genital ulcer multiplex PCR. Genital ulcer multiplex PCR for simultaneous detection of agents of common genital ulcers such as donovanosis, syphilis, chancroid, lymphogranuloma venereum, and the genital herpes. And the drug of choice, the treatment for this Donovania granulomatous is azithromycin. Azithromycin 1 gram on day 1, then 500 milligrams daily for 7 days. 500 milligrams daily for 7 days. Alternatively, doxycycline. You have to use alternatively doxycycline for this Donovania granulomatous or cotrimoxazole for 14 days. Alternative, we can use azithromycin is the drug of choice, but we can also alternatively doxycycline or cotrimoxazole. Both the sexual partners should be treated. Not only male, not only female, both sexual partners should be treated for the Donovane granulomatous. And then the third bacteria, Gardnerella vaginalis. The third bacterium is vaginal infection causing bacteria. That bacteria is called Gardnerella vaginalis. Gardnerella vaginalis. Is formerly this bacteria is called as Haemophilus vaginalis or Corynebacterium vaginalis. Haemophilus vaginalis or Corynebacterium vaginalis, present in the normal mammalian genetic tract in low numbers. When outnumbered, then causes bacterial vaginosis. The disease is called bacterial vaginosis. It is not vaginitis. It is a vaginosis. Gardnerella vaginalis causes bacterial vaginosis, not bacterial vaginitis. That is the point we have to remember. It is a Gardnerella vaginalis is a gram-negative small pleomorphic bacilli. It is a non-motile, shows metachromatic granules. Shows metachromatic granules. It grows on the blood agar medium, and blood agar medium minute hemolytic colonies observed. Suppose if you are incubated aerobically, providing 5% carbon dioxide for 24 to 48 hours, the bacteria will grow even in the blood agar medium. This is the culture medium for the Gardnerella vaginalis. It is a catalase, oxidase, indole, urease. All tests are negative in case of Gardnerella vaginalis. The organisms, not only the Gardnerella vaginalis, other organisms are also associated, and other features are also associated with the bacterial vaginosis. What are the organisms? It affects mainly women with reproductive age, associated with the alteration of the normal vaginal flora, increase in the concentration of Gardnerella vaginalis, mobilengus. Several other embryos are also associated with this Gardnerella vaginalis. What are the organisms associated with the bacterial vaginosis? Mobilengus, Protella, Peptostreptococcus, and Mycoplasma hominis. Peptostreptococcus and Mycoplasma hominis. These are the other bacteria associated with the Gardnerella vaginosis, bacterial vaginosis. Suppose the alteration of the normal flora, vaginal flora is altered, vaginal flora is changed, then the Gardnerella vaginalis adding to the some other bacteria, taking the help of the other bacteria like Mobilengus, Protella, and some Peptostreptococci and Mycoplasma hominis, and causing a infection. That infection is called bacterial vaginosis. Decrease in the concentration of lactobacilli is one important factor for the giving the infection. The lactobacilli are present in the vagina. Suppose the concentration of this lactobacilli is decreased, which is important for maintaining the normal vaginal pH. They are inhibiting the growth of pathogenic organisms. Suppose the lactobacilli concentration is decreased, this is Gardnerella taking help of the other bacteria like Mobilengus, Protella, and Peptostreptococci and Mycoplasma hominis, and causing the infection. That infection is called bacterial vaginosis. What are the risk factors? Other risk factors are coexisting other infections like HIV, Chlamydia trachomatis, and Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Recent unprotected vaginal intercourse and vaginal douching. These are the features, risk factors for the Gardnerella vaginalis. Premature rupture of membranes and preterm labor. These are the risk factors for the Gardnerella vaginalis. There are some criteria for the laboratory diagnosis. The criteria are Amsel's criteria. Amsel's, what is Amsel's criteria? The Amsel's criteria, there are 4 features are there. Among the 4, 3 must present. What are they? The 4 factors. See, there is a profuse thin white homogeneous vaginal discharge, uniformly coated on the vaginal wall. Profuse white discharge. Second one, pH more than 4.5, and the distinct fishy odor of say vaginal secretions. Suppose we can touch that fishy odor and vaginal secretions with adding with 10% KOH. Suppose if we add, there is a fishy odor will be increased. That is, the test is called Whiff test. Whiff test. And clue cells. The clue cells is an important feature for the bacterial vaginosis. I will tell what is clue cells later. First, these are the 4 features. Out of the 4, at least main three features should be there. Then only we can diagnose the bacterial vaginosis. See, what is Klebsiella? Klebsiella is important for the Gardnerella vaginalis infection. See, all of you see the vaginal epithelial cells. You can see the vaginal epithelial cells. The epithelial cell outer layer is coated with the Coccobacilli, gram-negative Coccobacilli. These Coccobacilli, which have a granular appearance and indistinct borders observed in a wet mount. You can see the normal cell and the clue cell. The normal cell is no coated bacilli. In the clue cell, the outer cell, epithelial cell, is embedded with these bacilli, Coccobacilli, that is called as a clue cell. The clue cell is a characteristic feature of the bacterial vaginosis in case of the Gardnerella vaginalis. Next, after clue cell, there is a score for that observed laboratory diagnosis for the detection. That score is called Nugent score. What is Nugent score? Nugent score system is followed for the diagnosis of bacterial vaginosis. It is done by counting the number of Gardnerella vaginalis, Mobilencus, Lactobacilli present in the gram-stained smear of vaginal discharge. Counting the number of the bacilli. That is called Nugent score. Nugent score. A score of more than 7 or equal to 7 is diagnosed. This is the importance of the Nugent score. The clue cells, the number of the clue cells and the number of the counting of the bacilli like Gardnerella vaginalis, Mobilencus, and Lactobacilli. Suppose they are present in the gram stain. Suppose the score is more than 7, is diagnostic for the diagnosis of the bacterial vaginosis. The treatment for this bacterial vaginosis is oral metronidazole, 500 milligrams BD for 7 days. 500 milligrams BD for 7 days. The characteristic feature of the this is the treatment for the bacterial vaginosis. Next, the other miscellaneous bacteria, rat bite fever. Rat bite, because of the rat bite, some bacteria will enter into our body. That is called rat bite fever. The rat bite fever is caused by the two types of bacteria. The first bacteria is Streptobacillus moniliformis and Spirillum minus. Spirillum minus. These are the two bacteria which causes rat bite fever. What is rat bite fever? Rat bite fever is characterized by the septic fever. Because of the bite, the bacteria will enter into our body and causing the high-grade fever and the rash, petechial rashes, and very painful polyarthritis. Very painful polyarthritis with the frequent relapses, joint pains, and frequent relapses with the fever, rash, joint pains, etc. will be there that are caused by the Streptobacillus moniliformis and the Spirillum minus. What is about the Streptobacillus moniliformis? It is a normal flora in the animals like rats. Streptobacillus moniliformis is present in the throat of the rats. It can be pathogen of many rodents, including guinea pigs and mice. The transmission, how the infection will transmit to humans, rat bites, and sometimes ingestion of raw milk or water contaminated with the rats. Water contaminated with the rats excreta. What's contaminated with the rats? This is the importance of the rat bite fever that is caused by the Streptobacillus moniliformis. It is also called Haverhill fever or Erythema arthriticum epidemicum. Haverhill fever or Erythema arthriticum epidemicum. This is the disease of the Streptobacillus moniliformis. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis of Haverhill fever or Erythema epidemicum or epidemicum. The specimens are blood, giant fluids at first. We have to observe blood and giant fluid at first. We have to take the samples of the blood. We can also take the giant fluid, and sometimes even first at the site of bite there is a production of abscess, etc. We can also collect the pus from the abscess of the site of rat bite. In the microscopy, the gram-negative highly pleomorphic bacilli forms irregular chains of gram-negative bacilli with the beaded or fusiform swellings readily developing into L forms. The culture 37 degrees centigrade aerobically. Media containing serum protein, egg yolk or starch, mouse inoculation, and serum agglutination test we have to do for the rat bed fever. There is second rat bed fever is caused by Spirillum minus. Spirillum minus is called Sudoku in Japan. That is also called Sudoku in Japan. First observed in a rat by Carter in India. Clinical features are similar to that of streptobacillary rat bed fever, except a long incubation period. The Spirillum minus incubation period is long incubation period. Enlarged lymph nodes are there. Enlarged, that is the difference between the Spirillum minus and the Spirillum moniliformis. Streptobacillary moniliformis. See, the what is the differences between the streptobacillary rat bed fever and spirally rat bed fever? The agent of this streptobacillary means streptobacillary moniliformis. Second one is Spirillum minus. It is caused by Haverhill fever in the America. Haverhill fever. In case of streptobacillary. In case of spirally rat bed fever, it is first observed in Sudoku, Japan. Incubation period is very short in case of streptobacillary rat bed fever, 7 to 10 days. In case of spirally rat bed fever, 1 to 3 weeks. The clinical features for this streptobacillary rat bed fever: septic fever, skin rashes, painful polyarthritis, frequent relapses. In case of spirally rat bed fever, similar features with additional feature like lymph node enlargement. In the Spirillum minus, there is additional feature is there, that is a lymph node enlargement. Gram staining, both are gram negative. The first one is highly pleomorphic. The second one is spirally coiled bacilli. The first one is a non-motile. Streptobacillary rat bed fever, non-motile. The Spirillum minus is a motile. Artificial media, we can use cultivable. In case of this first one, streptobacillary rat bed fever. The second one, non-cultivable, spirally rat bed fever. The drug of choice for both is penicillin. The drug of choice for both streptobacillary rat bed fever and spirally rat bed fever, the drug of choice is penicillin. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis, gram negative, better stained by Giemsa or Fontana stains. Both streptobacillary rat bed fever and spirally rat bed fever, both are observed gram negative, better stained by Giemsa or Fontana stains. Small rigid spirally coiled bacilli, multiple ambitrichous flagella. Culture cannot be cultured in artificial culture media, grown in inoculation and guinea pig cell. Nice. The treatment for this bacteria is penicillin already told. The alternative drugs are streptomycin, tetracycline, doxycycline, cephalosporin. Next, Francisella tularensis. The causative agent of tularemia, it is causing the tularemia that is caused by Francisella tularensis, primarily a plague-like disease of rodents and other small animals. Epidemiology. The source, it persists in the contaminated environments, insects and animal carriers. The transmission by biting or blood-sucking insects, contact with wild or domestic animals, ingestion of contaminated water or food, or inhalation of infective aerosols. The disease is called tularemia. There are different types of tularemia. What are they? You can see there are 4 subspecies which causing tularemia: the Francisella tularensis, Francisella holactica, Francisella novicida, and Francisella mediacitica. These are the 4 species of the Francisella. The first 3 subspecies are found in North America, whereas subspecies Media sciatica is found in Central Asia. Subspecies tolerance is most common and most. It has been isolated only from North America, where it accounts for more than 70% of the cases. Increasing number of cases due to other subspecies have been reported from Scandinavian countries and Eastern Europe and Siberia. Clinical manifestations. There are different types of tularemia is there, already told. There is the first one is ulceroglandular tularemia, which is most common. The ulcer is produced at the site of inoculation with the regional lymphadenopathy. The second one is pulmonary tularemia, result from aerosol inhalation or can spread to the lungs from following bacteremia, which causing atypical type of pneumonia. There are 2 types of diseases mainly, and there are even other clinical features are there. The first one is ulceroglandular tularemia at the site of inoculation. The second one is pulmonary tularemia, atypical pneumonia. That is the atypical pneumonia, laboratory workers. The third one is oropharyngeal tularemia, following ingestion of contaminated food, meat, etc., and associated with cervical lymphadenopathy. The next one is Lemming area in the Norway. There is a fever, that fever because of consumption of water contaminated with the excreta of infected lemmings that contains Francisella tularensis. That is a lemming fever in Norway. Next one is oculoglandular tularemia. It is associated with pre-auricular lymphadenopathy and conjunctivitis. That is oculoglandular tularemia, and sometimes typhoid leg fever. And these are the various features of the Francisella tularemia. There is an interesting feature of this Francisella tularensis is it can be used as an agent of bioterrorism. Francisella tularensis is currently classified as the category A agent of bioterrorism. Coming to the specimen collection, ulcer scrapings, lymph node biopsy, gastric washings, sputum, and other blood. Culture is highly fastidious. We have to use a special media for the Francisella tularensis. The medium is blood cysteine glucose agar. Blood cysteine glucose agar. Otherwise, cysteine hot agar supplemented with 9% of blood, sheep blood. 9% sheep blood. These are the culture media we have to use Francisella tularensis. And that is why it is a very highly infective organism. We have to take precautions for the laboratory workers. That is biosafety level 3 precautions we have to take for the Francisella tularensis. And coming to the identification, it is a small gram-negative Cucobacilli, the bipolar appearance. It is a non-motile and encapsulated. Weakly oxidase positive, catalase positive, oxidase negative, and H2S positive. Produce acid but not gas from glucose, maltose, and mannose. Direct fluorescent antibody test also we can do for the Francisella tularensis. Antibody detection. Mainstay of diagnosis as latex agglutination test. ELISA test we have to do. PCR test is also available. The treatment for the Francisella is gentamicin, alans, doxycycline, or ciprofloxacin. These are the alternatives for the Francisella tularensis. Next, Pasteurella. Pasteurella is it is a respiratory tract of many animals. It is present in the animals. Sometimes the humans may get infected because of the closeness of the animals to the humans. Can cause a fatal disease including hemorrhagic septicemia in animals. It may also give infection to the humans. That infection is Pasteurella multocida, most common organism in human wounds inflicted by the bites of cats or dogs. The other species such as Pasteurella hemolytica, Pasteurella pneumotropica, rarely infect humans. The most common is Pasteurella multocida. And other infection, birds infection, which is the Pasteurella aviseptica, is the chicken cholera bacilli used by Louis Pasteur for the development of first attenuated bacterial vaccine. Hence the name Pasteurella bacteria, Pasteurella aviseptica. Clinical features of the Pasteurella multocida: the transmission by the animal bite. The affected area becomes red, swollen, and painful with variable regional lymphadenopathy and low-grade fever. The Pasteurella is present as a commensal in human respiratory tract, and infection may occur following trauma or surgeries that lead to the bacteremia or systemic manifestations. The meningitis also it causes following head injury, and sometimes appendicitis, sometimes a chronic respiratory tract infection caused by the Pasteurella multocida. Coming to the laboratory diagnosis of Pasteurella infection, it's a gram-negative bacilli, Cucobacilli with the bipolar staining. Bipolar only, the peripheral parts are stained but not central part. So the bacteria appears like safety pin appearance. Bipolar staining is observed, and they are Cucobacillary type of bacilli. They are non-motile bacilli. The culture is aerobes or facultative anaerobes, non-fastidious. Aerobes, usually they are aerobes, and even facultative anaerobes bacteria may also go under anaerobic condition, and non-fastidious and resemble Yersinia but differ in being. Oxidase positive, indole positive, failure to grow on Meconic agar. The treatment for the Pasteurella is penicillin G or benzyl penicillin or penicillin G or amoxicillin clavulanic acid. We have to use for the Pasteurella multocida. Next, Chromobacterium violation. It is also Chromobacterium oxidase test positive. Saprophyte is present in the saprophyte like Pseudomonas and other bacteria. It is present in the soil and water. It causes skin lesions, sepsis, and liver abscess. It is motile, gram-negative, facultative anaerobe, non-sporic, Cucobacilli. It produces characteristic violet color, non-diffusible pigment, that is violation pigment. That is why it is called as Chromobacterium violation. The violet color, we already please see the violet color pigment of the colonies of the Chromobacterium violacea. Chromobacter violaceum colonies are violet color, that we have to observe. And next bacteria, Capnocytophaga species. There are some bacteria which are present in the oral cavity of the animals and the humans. There are periodontal diseases, etc. Sepsis, immunocompromised host. Certain species such as Capnocytophaga canimosus and Capnocytophaga cyanodegmi are commenced in the mouths of dogs and which are transmitted by the dog bite. Suppose there is a bacteria present in the dogs, etc. Because of dog bite, human get infected. That is, the infection is caused by the Capnocytophaga species. What is the laboratory diagnosis of the Capnocytophaga? It is a fusiform or filamentous gram-negative Coccobacilli. It is highly fastidious. It requires carbon dioxide for optimal growth. Produce yellow-orange pigment. It lacks flagella but exhibit a gliding mobility on agar surface. The treatment for the Capnocytophaga is ampicillin sulbactam combination is the drug of choice. Ampicillin sulbactam combination. This is about the miscellaneous bacteria. Miscellaneous bacteria. We have covered and completed the systematic bacteria. All systematic bacteriology completed so far. Next, we'll go to the parasitology, helminthology. We have to go to the helminthology. We have completed so far. We have completed today with this 2 days class. We have completed the bacteriology. We have completed the bacteriology. Okay, thank you very much.